Okay, we're going to start again. Good evening. I hereby call to order the October 12th council meeting of the City of Mayfield Heights. May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Dijon?
Here.
Mr. Mano?
Here.
Mr. Mercurio?
Here.
Mr. Monaco?
Here.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Here.
Mr. Sharia?
Here.
Mrs. Teresi?
Here. Thank you. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, we will have a special presentation from Mr. Alex Kuhn and Ms. Karen Shelby from the American Heart Association. Please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Alex Kuhn, 5455 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio. Thank you for having me tonight in Mayfield Heights to acknowledge the care being provided by your EMS providers for heart attack patients, and most specifically the most serious type of heart attack called a STEMI heart attack. The American Heart Association recognizes the critical life-saving role EMS provides to the overall success of a STEMI system of care. The correct tools and training allow EMS providers to rapidly identify the STEMI, promptly notify the destination center, and activate an early response from the hospital. As an EMS agency that delivers education in STEMI identification, provides access to 12 lead ECG machines, and develops protocols from the American Heart Association, American College of Cardiology guideline recommendations, your pre-hospital professionals are driving improvements in care and outcomes for STEMI patients. Beyond these components of a high-functioning STEMI system of care, City of Mayfield Heights Fire Department is part of an elite group of pre-hospital agencies in the U.S. focused not just on high-functioning, but also high-quality STEMI systems of care. The City of Mayfield Heights Fire Department joins 447 other EMS agencies in the U.S. and is one of only 51 agencies in the state of Ohio that are receiving the 2015 American Heart Association Mission Lifeline EMS Performance Achievement Award. To achieve the Bronze Performance Achievement Award, the City of Mayfield Heights Fire Department achieved a 75% or higher compliance score on each of the specific EMS quality measures for at least 3 to 9 months. These measures include percentage of patients with non-traumatic chest pain over the age of 35 treated and transported by EMS who received a pre-hospital 12-lead ECG. The second measure is percentage of STEMI patients transported to a STEMI receiving center with a pre-hospital first medical contact device in less than 90 minutes. Today we're celebrating lives saved because of the hard work and dedication of the City of Mayfield Heights Fire Department. The community served by the City of Mayfield Heights Fire Department should be very proud of their pre-hospital care professionals. For their accomplishment, the American Heart Association will recognize the City of Mayfield Heights Fire Department throughout the year at professional meetings, in professional journals including GEMS, and on the American Heart Association website. So on behalf of all the staff and volunteers at the American Heart Association, I would like to present the City of Mayfield Heights Fire Department with the American Heart Association's Mission Lifeline 2015 EMS Bronze Performance Achievement Award. Congratulations on your accomplishment.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Karen Shelby. I'm the EMS manager at Hillcrest Hospital. And tonight I'm honored on behalf of Cleveland Clinic, Hillcrest Hospital, and Dr. James Sato, the EMS medical director, to commend and congratulate the Mayfield Heights Fire Department on receiving the American Heart Association EMS Mission Lifeline Bronze Performance Achievement Award for pre-hospital heart attack care. Thank you for your partnership in providing quality care to our patients. Congratulations. It's my honor to work with you.
I promise to be brief as possible, but none of this would be possible without me acknowledging several people. First, I'd like to thank the mayor and city council for all your support that you've given the fire department over the years to make this possible. I'd also like to thank Alex Kuhn, who's a very busy guy, to make time to come out and make this short presentation to us. That means a lot to us. I'd also like to thank the American Heart Association. They put a program like this together, and it's truly making a difference in the care that we're giving our people out there, and are acknowledging the efforts of pre-hospital people. Can't go on without thanking Hillcrest Hospital. They've been there for us for as long as I've been here. They've been our medical control, Dr. James Sato and Karen Shelby and their staff provide us hours and hours of education a year. They make sure that we're meeting the needs to a very high standard and care for our patients at all times. I'd also like to thank Captain Dennis Linsky. He's our EMS officer. Dennis has a role of EMS officer, very busy guy. His role is to track our hours. He conducts training. He also orders our equipment and supplies, and he's also our CPR instructor for our community. So we all know how important CPR is, and Dennis has been taking that program to the next level. And lastly, I'd like to thank the Mayfield Heights Fire Department crews. You know, these guys come to work every day. They work hard. They come in here and they really, truly want to make a difference and give the best possible care to the residents in our city. Without their compassion, their dedication, and professionalism, this would never be possible. So I got to thank our guys there too. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Chief, we want to thank you and all of your team. We're very, very proud to have all of you here in the city of Mayfield Heights. You do a terrific job.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to say congratulations, guys. You guys do a phenomenal job, and we hear it every day, believe me, from residents. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we will move on to acceptance of the minutes of our last meeting of September 28th, 2015. I hope everyone's had a chance to read the minutes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mrs. Sabetta, seconded by Mr. Monaco. Are there any suggested changes, deletions, or amendments to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of approval of the minutes signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The minutes of the council meeting of September 28th, 2015 have been approved as written. We will now move on to correspondence and announcements. I have just one announcement that I'd like to begin with. On Thursday, October 8th, I attended the annual VIP dinner at Mayfield High School. I was there with my husband Jim, as well as Mrs. Sabetta and her husband, Mr. and Mrs. Mano, and Mr. and Mrs. Monaco. The event honors 4 alumni from the Mayfield High School into the Alumni Hall of Fame. Jody Kest was from the class of 1980, and she is now a Division I Akron's women's basketball coach. Ed Ferris was from the class of 1985, and he is an OB/GYN doctor at Summa Akron City Hospital today. And Mark Klang from the class of 1994 started his own company, Amazing Tickets. And it's one of the top ticket brokerage firms here in, locally, actually in Mayfield Village. And Chris Farinacci from the class of 1986. You probably all know who Chris is. He's Wayne Farinacci, who is Mayfield Alumni Association president. Chris is his son. And Chris has worked at a number, nephew. Yeah, that's right, his nephew. That's Al Farinacci's son. Chris has worked at a number of technology firms, and the last firm he worked with was Google. And he was head of marketing for Google Work and Google Education. And what was really amazing was that he showed a video to everyone that was in attendance on where the world of education with Google is going to take you. And since many of the students have never had a chance to travel the world, see the Great Wall of China or Thailand or the 7 wonders of the world, this new Google Education can take you there. It's Google is created out of a cardboard virtual reality kit or machine, and it allows the students to put a telephone in there and view it, almost like years ago when you had a ViewMaster. And it launches an app, and then you can do a tour of anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world. It was just absolutely amazing when they showed the video to all of us. And it's going to be amazing for our children and grandchildren. And the most exciting part was that Chris Farinacci has donated this new educational technology to Mayfield School System. And we will be the first school in the country to have this technology, which is pretty amazing. Far beyond what anyone in our generation could ever think about. So it was really, really quite amazing. Very exciting for the school. And if that wasn't enough to watch all of this, they then honored one of our favorite men of all times, Larry Sophia, as Citizen of the Year. And there's so many accolades you can talk about when you talk about Larry Sophia, but everyone knows he's on our Park and Recreation Committee. Everyone knows he's been an integral part of putting together our annual parade. He's a Pearl Harbor survivor and holds 2 Purple Hearts that he earned during that Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. And in 2014, Larry was honored with the Lander Hero Award from Lander School because he has volunteered at Lander School for 18 years. And they gave him an award last year, which was really heartwarming. And this year he became the Citizen of the Year, and we should all be thrilled. He's a special guy. So our well wishes go out and our congratulations go out to Larry Sophia. That's all I have. That concludes my report. It was quite an amazing event. Does anyone else have anything else? Mr. Monaco?
I'd just like to point out that at the last council meeting, the Cuyahoga County Council voted to establish a $2 million funds for local communities to tear down some blighted properties. So I would really urge the building department to develop a list for submission so that we can take advantage of this program.
Thank you, Mr. Monaco. Mr. DeJohn.
Thank you, Madam President. I received a call today from a Bill Bollinger who was asking for live broadcasts of our council meetings. This is something that I've mentioned to the council several times in the past, and Mr. Bollinger has mentioned it to us and the council several times in the past. And he stated that he knows a lot of people who are asking for these live broadcasts of these meetings. And as we all know, a lot of these people are elderly and do not drive at nighttime. This is a convenience I believe we should provide to our residents. The cost to update our antiquated system to provide live broadcasts is around $10,000. So I hope we can make an effort as a council to bring this technology to our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeJohn. Any other announcements? Mr. Mano.
Don't forget about I always say it wrong, the Invocation Center? Old Library?
Innovation Center.
Thank you, Mary. Anyway, we were up at that on Friday night, and it's remarkable what they did with that building. And the students that are in those classes there, they have to be freshmen. They won't allow any upperclassmen because it's a 4-year program. But you talk about the best and brightest. Everything from laser printers, they actually made a prosthetic hand. They can do so many things there. They have forensics. It's just amazing. And if I had my blood pressure taken and went through the forensic section, was very interesting. How they figured out a whodunit and all the things that go with it. But if you ever have an opportunity to go see that building, it's worth going and see because it's just phenomenal. You'd never believe what they did with that building. So that was a great thing.
It is I've been there. It is really amazing. Mr. Monaco?
Mr. Mano, how was your blood pressure?
Actually, it was very good. I was surprised.
It's every other Monday when it's a little high.
We'll take it before the meeting and after.
Okay. Any other announcements, or shall we move? Let's move on to to reports of officers. Mayor DeSico.
Thank you, Madam President. I kind of feel, now I know how Mr. Sharia feels. Everybody stole my report tonight, so.
We're sorry.
Right on.
I'll start with the Innovation Center then, just because you guys were just talking about it. It was an amazing opening, ribbon cutting, and besides what Mr. Mano said about the things that are going on there, it's the way they're teaching kids there. They realize that not every student learns the same way, so to have an environment that is a little different, so each student can learn the best way they can, it's something that is very, it's just amazing. It's amazing. I wish they had that when I was going to high school, but it's nice to see each kid, each student not pigeonholed into certain ways of learning. So it was an amazing experience, definitely. And again, congratulations to Larry Sophia. I'm lucky enough to be related to Larry. He's an amazing guy.
He is an amazing guy.
This week is National Case Management Week, giving us the opportunity to recognize case managers for their collaborative process of assessment, planning, facilitation, and advocacy for options and services to meet an individual's health needs. The City of Mayfield Heights is proud of the contribution case managers make to the quality of health care provided in the City of Mayfield Heights. I had the opportunity to welcome moviegoers to the 2015 Cleveland Italian Film Festival at Atlas Cinema, October 1st. The Cleveland Italian Film Festival is the first independent film festival in Northeast Ohio to exclusively showcase award-winning Italian films in a professional theater setting. And they have committed their proceeds to the $1.5 million renovation and restoration of the Italian Cultural Garden in Cleveland's Rockefeller Park. And I thank them for supporting the local businesses in Mayfield Heights and for bringing the film festival to our community. Last week we welcomed 88 first graders from Lander School for a tour of various city departments. It's always great to start the day with the smiling face from the students, and the questions that I get from them, it just makes your day. It's an awesome experience. Well, and I guess since we were on the school, let's continue in congratulating the Mayfield Wildcat football team for their homecoming victory against Chardon, and which brings them to a record of 7-0. We wish them continued success as they take on Madison this Friday. And as I mentioned in the past, the Healthy Community Initiative is a collaborative effort between the Cleveland Clinic and the Mayfield School District and school district communities, Cuyahoga County Public Libraries, Cleveland Metro Parks, Mayfield Academic Boosters, and Heinens. Their mission is to promote optimal health and wellness. The group has an upcoming free event, but registration is preferred. The advantage of a plant-based diet will be presented. This groundbreaking program has proven that a change in diet can combat heart disease. The event will be held at the Mayfield High School Auditorium on Tuesday, October 20th at 6:30 p.m. To register, you can call 216-448-0085 or visit www.clevelandclinic.org/Let's Move It under events calendar. The Mayor's Community Council Fall Harvest Pancake Breakfast will be held on Sunday, October 25th from 9 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at the Dijon Community Center. Tickets are $5 at the door. And door-to-door Halloween trick-or-treat will be held on Saturday, October 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. Illuminate your porch light if you plan to participate. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mayor. Are there any questions for the mayor? Thank you. We'll move on to our Director of Law, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam President. I have no report this evening, but I would note that currently tabled is ordinance number 2015-30, which is with regard to the action of the Planning Commission and the appeal of Artist Senior Living. The mayor and I have met with the attorney and the applicant, and they are tweaking their proposal, shall we say, to see if they can make some changes in it, and therefore they've requested that this remain on table for the time being. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Are there any questions for Mr. Murphy? Seeing none, we'll move on to our Director of Finance, Mr. Tribby.
I have no report this evening.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Tribby? Okay, we will move on to our reports of committees, commissions, and boards, and we will begin with our Building Committee and Mr. Mano.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have no report on the building committee.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Mano? We will move on to Finance and Audit Committee, and that's Mr. Mercurio.
Thank you, Madam President. At our last meeting, I reported on the Community Development Block Grant. I just wanted to let everyone know that the application process is moving along. We have a public hearing set for next Monday at 6:30 p.m. right here in Council Chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Mercurio. Are there any questions for Mr. Mercurio? Thank you. We'll move on to the Legislative Committee, and that is Mr. Monaco.
Thank you. I have no report this evening.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Monaco? We'll move on to Public Works and Services, and that is Mr. Sharia.
Thank you. The Service Department has built a control box at Ridgeberry near East and West Minor. Now this is near the path of the high school, and as a result, working with the traffic department, the light is working, and so that benefits both Mayfield Heights and Mayfield Village. And by the way, they're also in the process of replacing our school zone intersections with ODOT crosswalk signals. I noticed walking in to the building here that decorations, fall decorations are out there, corn stalks, corn. But I noticed Brutus was missing. So Mr. Fernaro, please take care of Brutus. Mayfield may be 6-0, but so is Ohio State, okay? The service department has also reported that construction is completed on Parkland and Ranchland Road. And finally, we all know we had that meeting last week, the Public Works Service, reviewing the bids, solid waste bids, and of course looking at the recycling issue. Another committee meeting, as we all know, is set for next Monday. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Sharia. Are there any questions for Mr. Sharia? Mr. Mano.
Oh, God, him again.
I wanted to thank you for these Columbus Day
Oh,
pamphlets.
I forgot to mention.
The only thing is, I was a little disappointed because they're not signed autograph pieces. I know you grew up with Chris, so I thought you'd at least get these signed for us.
I hope your blood pressure goes right to the top, okay?
In case anyone does not know, Mr. Sharia helps put together the Columbus Day Parade down in Little Italy,
And it was great.
and it was great. Mr. Sharia.
Thousands and thousands of people attended. We had 125 units. We had 12 high school bands. We had all kinds of political candidates, including some from Mayfield Heights. So it was a very, very enjoyable, exciting day.
Good. Thanks, Mr. Sharia. Oh, Mr. Mano, Mr. Monaco.
Channel 8 had very, very good coverage of the parade.
I work for Channel 3, so don't tell me about that.
Mr. Monaco, moving right on.
I just had a comment. I noticed that the city of Pepper Pike has designated the curb lane on Gates Mills Boulevard as a bike lane. And I was wondering if we should follow suit and possibly do the same thing on Gates Mills Boulevard in Mayfield Heights.
Mayor, should we take that, well, I mean, should we ask Mr. Fenaro or Mr.
That's Public Works and Services. No.
Could have fooled me.
You could have, we could discuss that, but I don't know if you want to interrupt the traffic through that section of Gates Mills Boulevard with, we're working on trying, with the, East Side Greenway project to try and get some bike lanes in other areas and trying to avoid putting them in actual, traffic pattern, so we're working on that.
I'd just like to add to that, when they did that widening on the boulevard, which was, what, 12 years ago? Mayfield Heights did not participate in the additional, I don't know what they widened it, another foot or two. The rest of the boulevard all the way down is wider, but the Mayfield Heights section, we did not go along with that widening. So it's already pretty narrow in the Mayfield Heights corridor, whereas down on the other end, they've got an extra foot or two of roadway.
Mr. Monaco?
I believe the only purpose why they did that is because they want to contain the bikers in the curb lane. They do not want them to go in a fast lane. So it's by no means restricting that lane just for bikes. It's just that, you know, if you ride a bike and you're in files or next to each other, you can only use that lane. You're not allowed to go into the fast lane.
Thank you. Mr. Mercurio, did you have something?
no.
Oh, Mayor?
Thank you. Did they, I guess I'm confused, did they put lines down that designates it as a bike lane?
No.
Okay, they just,
All they did, they just marked a bike on the road every
Understand.
about 400
Okay.
feet, so that they know that the bikers are restricted to that lane.
side, gotcha.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to Recreation and Parks Committee, and that's Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. The LBJ basketball registration is now closed. Both the K1, 2, 3 grade groups have sold out, and there are 96 participants in each age group. The Pat B Basketball Clinic is taking registration for fall session number 2. The clinic works on developing fundamental basketball skills for students in K through 8th grade and begins October 19th. A reminder, the Mayfield Heights Halloween party is scheduled for Saturday, October 24th at the DeJohn Community Center. There are 2 sessions, 10:45 and 12:15. The cost is $5 per ticket, and they must be purchased in advance. Tomorrow's Oktoberfest themed adult luncheon has 60 adults registered. The October lunch brunch will be going to Otani's on October 28th at 11:30. If you're interested, reservations a must. Please call Mayfield Heights Recreation. At the Wildcat Sport and Fitness, Teen Halloween will take place this Friday, October 16th from 6 to 9. The Mayfield Middle School students in grades 6 through 8. The Wildcat Sport and Fitness Fun Pickleball Tournament will be held October 24th at 9 a.m. $10 a player, mixed doubles. The fall session number 2 of indoor swimming lessons will begin on November 7th. Registration begins on October 26th at the Wildcat Sport and Fitness. We would like to remind you, with the cold weather of late fall and winter right around the corner, now is the time to make plans for where to go and get some exercise. Whether that is walking, working out with weights, cardio machines, Wildcat Sport Fitness, as you covered. Please stop by for a tour of the facility or find out more about the best-kept secret in Mayfield. More information on the Wildcat Sport Fitness Program, please call 995-6840. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Sabetta. Are there any questions for Mrs. Sabetta? We will move on to Safety and Transportation Committee, and that is Mr. DeJohn.
Thank you, Madam President. And first of all, I want to begin by congratulating the fire department on their award from the American Heart Association. You know, we're very lucky to have these dedicated public servants in this city. Moving right along, the fire department is currently flushing hydrants within the city, and here are some guidelines. First of all, the purpose of this of flushing the hydrants is to test all mechanical parts of the hydrants, as well as testing the pressure. Any unacceptable findings, they will report to the Cleveland Water Department, who will fix the hydrant. Signs will be posted a couple days before the hydrants are flushed, and it is recommended that you run your tap water after they are flushed, and if you see any rusty water, make sure you're running the water until it clears out. The next community CPR class will be held on December 9th. If you need any information regarding that, please contact Captain Dennis Linsky. The fire department has participated in a county disaster drill at Cleveland Hopkins Airport on September 19th. This drill consisted of a simulated airplane crash of 170 patients, and they were evaluated, and our chief was there, and they learned how to prepare for these type of incidences. Just want to remind everybody to keep updated on the Mayfield Heights Police Department Facebook page, which will keep you informed about police activities within the city. And on one last final note, I don't know if any of you knew this, but our chief, Fred Bittner, was put in jail on October 7th. And I am proud to announce that he raised enough bail to get out of jail. He raised more than $850, and all of his bail money goes to the Muscular Dystrophy Association to support local families who are living with one of over 43 neuromuscular diseases. Thank God the chief has a lot of friends and was able to post bail. And when you see the chief, congratulate him for taking this challenge and raising this money for a great cause. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. DeJohn. Are there any questions for Mr. DeJohn? We will move on to our Board of Zoning Appeals. Mr. Mercurio.
Thank you, Madam President. We have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow night at 7 o'clock right here in council chambers.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Mercurio on BZA? Next move on to the Commission on Aging, and that's my committee. We met on October 6th. There will be a health fair at Manor Care in Mayfield Heights on October 22nd. The Community Partnership on Aging will be on hand to offer services such as Medicare screening and HEAP applications. And if you're not familiar with HEAP, it's the Home Energy Assistance Program that is a federally funded program administered by the Ohio Development Services Agency of Community Assistance. And it's designed to help eligible low-income Ohioans meet the high cost of home heating. If you're eligible for assistance, the amount of your one-time heat benefit will depend on your federal funding levels and how many people live in your home, total household income, and the primary fuel that you use to heat your home. In most cases, the one-time benefit will be a credit applied to your energy bill with your local utility company. Also, Mrs. O'Brien, who is our Executive Director of Community Partnership on Aging, is working with our Service Director, Joe Finaro, on a leaf raking program with Mayfield Middle School. And the students who will rake the leaves on October 23rd. CPA will be providing the names of our residents who are in need of leaf raking, and she'll provide that to Mr. Finaro. Therese Garita announced that Mayfield High School is holding a senior sampler on October 22nd from 10:30 in the morning to 1 p.m. Senior adults are invited to register for the free event by calling 440-995-7796 by October 19th. And the program will include lunch, a jazz band performance, and a tour of the Innovation Center. And the next social dance will be held on December 5th at the Ross C. DeJohn Community Building. And that concludes my report on the Commission on Aging. Are there any questions? Okay, we will move on to the Planning Commission. Mr. DeJohn.
Thank you, Madam President. We didn't meet last week, so I have no report. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. DeJohn? Mayfield Union Cemetery, Mrs. Sabetta.
Thank you, Madam President. No report.
Thank you. And next we'll move on to the Ad Hoc Committee, which is Mr. Mano.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We have a meeting scheduled for Thursday, October 15th at 7:30 p.m. in these chambers or next door.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Mano? We will now move on to our public portion, and pursuant to Section 121.02, Section H8 of the Codified Ordinances, each person will be allotted 5 minutes to speak with a maximum of 30 minutes allotted for the entire public portion. Although this is not a time for public debate, this is your opportunity to address council with your concerns. Please note that there will be no personal attacks or comments allowed this evening. If you're here in connection with an agenda item, this is your opportunity to come forward and address council. If you would like to be heard this evening, raise your hand and be recognized and approach the podium. State your name and address for the record. It is now 7:37 and we will open the public portion. Is there anyone who would like to be heard this evening? Are you kidding? Seeing none, we will close the public portion. And it is still 7:37. Okay. And as we move forward, there are no resolutions on the agenda this evening, so we will move on to ordinances, and Mr. Murphy will begin.
Thank you, Madam President. Ordinance number 2015-35, an ordinance amending the zone map of the City of Mayfield Heights, Ohio, so as to rezone permanent parcel numbers 861-30-019 and 861-30-020, southwest corner of Lander Road and Landerbrook Drive, from the current U7 Headquarters or Executive Offices Park District to U8 Office, Engineering, Medical, and Research Building District in the City of Mayfield Heights. Second reading.
Is there a motion to place ordinance 2015-35 on second reading? Moved by Mr. DeJohn, seconded by Mr. Mercurio. Roll call on the motion to place on second reading.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mr. Sharia?
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi?
Yes. Ordinance 2015-35 has been placed on second reading. A public hearing will be held on November 9th, 2015 at 6:45 p.m. here in council chambers. We'll move on to ordinance 2015-36. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam President. Ordinance number 2015-36, an ordinance acknowledging Laborers International Union of North America Local Number 860 as the exclusive representative of all full-time service department employees of the City of Mayfield Heights, Ohio. First reading.
Is there a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Mr. Monaco, seconded by Mr. DeJohn. Roll call on the motion to suspend.
Mr. DeJohn?
Yes.
Mr. Sharia?
Yes.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi?
Yes. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Sharia, seconded by Mr. Mercurio. We have each received a copy of the letter sent to Mr. Tribby from Anthony Liberator, the business manager of Local 860, reflecting the changeover or merger from the Union of State, County, and Municipal Workers to the Laborers Local 860. There was also attached the amendment of certification dated September 10th. Mr. Tribby, would you like to add anything?
No, that explains it very well.
Did, I have a question. Did the union, state and county and municipal workers, did all of them in every community merge into 860 or just ours?
Just ours, I think. I'm not sure there were any other members, unions from that representation. I don't know for sure, though.
Thank you. Any other questions? Roll call on the motion to approve.
Mr. Monaco?
Yes.
Mrs. Sabetta?
Yes.
Mr. Sharia?
Yes.
Mr. Mano?
Yes.
Mr. Dijon?
Yes.
Mr. Mercurio?
Yes.
Mrs. Teresi?
Yes. Ordinance 2015-36 has been adopted. Again, this evening, we have no motions, so we will move on to new business or comments from council. Does anyone have anything to contribute? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? Moved by Mr. Monaco, seconded by Mrs. Sabetta. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Our meeting is now adjourned.